Welcome to Finally Fettled, the podcast where cannabis meets conversation and maybe a little chaos.
We're your hosts,
Jackie
and Tori, here to keep it real about our cannabis journeys, share some laughs, and potentially even drop a little knowledge along the way.
We're all about making cannabis fun, approachable, and a bit less intimidating, whether you're a seasoned smoker or just kinda curious.
So sit back, spark up, and let's explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Responsibly, of course. Let's get this sesh started.
Do not use cannabis if you are under the age of 21. Keep cannabis out of the reach of children. Please consume responsibly.
Welcome, fam, to Finally Fettled. We have another exciting episode in store for you today. We have our friend JP here, who is one of our pharmacists at one of our medical stores in Connecticut. And today we're going to be discussing medical marijuana and all the science behind why it works. But yeah, JP, hey.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? How's it going?
We're so happy that you're on the pod with us.
I know, I'm really excited to be here. I've been wanting to be on a podcast for a while, and now that it's incorporated my job and you gals, you know, it's just kismet.
That's it.
I think we've talked about terpenes on every single episode. So to have you here and to finally explain it to our listeners, I'm excited for that.
Terpenes, what are those? I'm just kidding.
So before we get started, what we're consuming responsibly today, we have the Rythm Jack Herrera Disposable Vape. This is AGL's kind of premier flower line. And it's been nice. I think it was
it
nice.
Slaps. Yeah, I'm fettled.
Fresh. It was good.
I'm sufficiently fettled right now.
Yeah, your eyes look very fettled.
Shout out to Jack Herrera.
Yeah, thanks,
Rythm.
Jack. Also, another burning question we have for you before we get started. What is your favorite Trader Joe's food?
Oh, you can't put me on the spot like that. It's so... Okay, let me just first say, Trader Joe's is amazing.
Yeah.
I was a little scared of it as a kid. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Parking lot is insane.
It's a lot.
One other thing I say before I let you guys know. Why does Trader Joe's always build... Like, their building is next to the worst parking lot in the world?
Dude.
It's, like, horrible to get in and out of.
Dude. Anxiety
God's
city.
gift inside.
Yeah.
Outside is nothing but trauma.
Yeah. No, really.
No matter which location you go to.
Every single one.
Chaos.
Everyone, yeah.
Busiest plaza in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth it, though. It's worth the pain.
It is.
Probably... Okay, so if you want just an easy meal, this is a two-parter. You just want an easy meal. The Mandarin Orange Chicken.
Oh, I haven't had that
Incredible.
yet.
Okay.
With the vegetable fried rice.
The vegetable fried rice is a staple in my home.
It's so easy.
Yeah,
it's so easy.
It's great. I love it.
And then, to include some more T-Joes in there, the chili onion crunch.
Dude.
Oil.
Oh, yes.
Don't even...
Yes.
Put that on everything.
Yeah.
I put that on
Don't
ice
even-
cream.
Don't even
And-
get me
that
started
is
with that.
brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the ice cream that you use, but yeah.
That sounds so good.
Yeah.
They should have a rewards program, like a loyalty program.
Yes.
And then, like, you should, like, find out about, like, what special things are coming in.
You
Well,
should pitch that to them.
I mean, the reward is the product and
You're right.
the pleasant experience of the
Well,
people that work there.
Yeah, so the
Those
people that work
love
there, not
their
necessarily
jobs.
the people that shop there, but the people who work there, definitely.
They love their jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
They also love Fine Fettle. Anyone that I go into.
I mean, yeah, have you seen their shirts? Those people smoke.
All right, JP, our second question that we ask every guest. What is your favorite strain?
Oh, okay. It has to be Godfather OG.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You
okay.
stand by that. I
I
remember
do.
asking you that when we worked in the store together. Yes.
Well,
yes.
it is one it's a delicious strain. It hits all of the, we were talking about terpenes, and we're going to be talking about terpenes, those terpenes that I look for. And so the first time I ever had it was from CT Pharma, and it was called Corleovex. So, an Italian kid from the greater New Haven area, I need to incorporate the Godfather in there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's all
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an indica?
No, it's a hybrid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at
Okay.
least the one from CT Pharma. I mean, it's all hybrid.
Right.
And we'll get into that. But
Okay. Speaking of that, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, JP, tell us about your journey with cannabis and kind of how you got into the industry and where it all began for you.
yeah, so I am a pharmacist. I work in the Newington location. And while I was in pharmacy school, our ordering manager, Eric, who is also a pharmacist and was the AGM at Fine Fettle Newington at the time, came to my pharmacy school and talked about cannabis. Up until then, I was a recreational user, occasionally at that time, and I really didn't know that much scientifically about cannabis. So there was this long slideshow. It wasn't really long. It was a lot longer than what we talked about in pharmacy school. I think we had one slide in our actual curriculum. And he just talked about cannabis, what his job is like, what he does on a day-to-day basis, how he interacts with patients. He actually gets to sit down with patients. And he gave everyone his business card.
So you're talking Eric, like Eric.
Eric, yeah.
Wow, I never knew this.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible? I think that's such an incredible story. Like, just like a talk at your school and like
what I love
like
that
inspired
so much.
you to go into the industry.
Well, so it came like probably a year later when I was about to graduate, and I was going down the different avenues of what I could do. You know, I could work in a hospital. I can work in the community setting like CVS, like you see the pharmacists there, or, you know, I could try the unconventional route. So I reached out to Eric just to get a glimpse of what the day-to-day, I mean, he talked about what he did in the dispensary, but actually seeing like what goes on. Mm-hmm. So he invited me to come to the dispensary, and I checked it out. I met everyone. We sat down in one of the consult rooms that I talk to patients in now, and we just talked about, you know, what I'm looking to get out of being a pharmacist. And I told him, you know, I want to help people, but I want to be able to actually interact with them and not just be behind the bench. So,
yeah, that's a question. Is that something that's not common for pharmacists? You guys don't really interact with patients if you work in like a traditional pharmacy?
So at the time, I was working as a pharmacy intern at CVS, and I actually worked at CVS for a little bit after I graduated when I got licensed. And a lot of it, especially if you're in a busy store, you are just filling prescriptions. You occasionally will talk to a patient if you're giving a vaccine or if they just have a question about a medication. But that one-on-one in a separate room, you know, 20 minutes, half an hour, just talking about their ailments and, you know, what they can be taking to better that, I wasn't getting at CVS. If I worked in a hospital setting, definitely, you know, you could work one-on-one with patients, but the path that I was currently on in pharmacy, I wasn't really going to experience that. So I was, you know, talking to Eric, letting him know my interests, and he offered me a job as a tech there at Fine Fettle Newington. So I really wouldn't have any capacity like in that pharmacist realm except for like shadowing because I wasn't currently licensed. So I got a glimpse into how a dispensary works, the products that we have, you know, working in the vault with Matt, who is now, you know, at our grow facility, interacting with patients, learning about terpenes, learning about cannabinoids, what the endocannabinoid system is. So I got all of that just as a tech. And when I graduated, I signed on part-time with Fine Fettle, and eventually a spot opened up, and I left CVS, and here I am.
The rest is history.
Yeah, write it in the books.
That's amazing. Amazing journey. I love it. So yes, talk to us about this endocannabinoid system and how it all works. Let's jump into the science.
Yeah. How sciencey do we want to get? I mean, I could nerd out. But
send it full force.
All right, maybe I won't do a full send, but yeah. So the endocannabinoid system, it's naturally occurring in our body. It's been there,
and isn't it in all mammals?
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. There's similar receptor systems. So it's a complex regulatory system. So when I say regulatory system, it helps regulate functions within our body like digestion, some motor function, help with inflammation, things like that. And what we know is weed, when we consume it, works on the endocannabinoid receptors in our body. So those are like CB1 and CB2 receptors. So, you know, THC, CBD, other cannabinoids like that act on those receptors that are in our body, and they have an effect that are sometimes noticeable, sometimes not.
Okay. I love CBG. Like, what's your favorite cannabinoid?
So there's a lot of them. There's definitely some interesting cannabinoids out there. For the longest time, I feel like people were just like THC, CBD. Mm-hmm. But more recently, we've kind of not discovered, but have delved into and looked more into other cannabinoids that exist that serve other functions. So one of them is THCV, which is just, a minor cannabinoid within the marijuana plant, within cannabis. But it's been shown to help, regulate blood sugar levels, improve insulin sensitivity. So there might be a future with some of these cannabinoids to, have a place pharmacologically to actually help people.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah, the thing is THC, it's such a minor cannabinoid, though, is like we'd really have to amplify it, or at least create a molecule that is similar to that to like impose those effects that.
I feel like I've seen them in some gummies. Like is that the one that gives you energy? Are those is that
THCV?
an energizing
Yeah, I thought
cannabinoid?
it was.
I feel like I've seen Caminos have a THCV gummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think obviously with further testing, we'll be able to really get a good view of what actual cannabinoids are in our products, and we'll be able to put a number on, how much of THCV, how much of CBG, how much CBN. We'll be able to actually show that. That being said, THCV, all these cannabinoids have a lot of different benefits that I think need to be focused on more to really get a better glimpse of the experience that you're having when you're, on cannabis.
Can you walk us through that a little? Like, what is the difference between THC, CBD, CBG, CBN? Like, just briefly, like, how do you know what the different ones mean?
Yeah, so obviously the most predominant ones are THC and CBD. Like I said before, THC, as we know, it's like the driving force of why a lot of recreational users want cannabis, is because it has those psychoactive effects. Mm-hmm. It can make you, quote unquote, and I'm holding up the quotes for those listeners, quote unquote high. Well, CBD works on similar receptors but doesn't have any psychoactive effect. CBN is another minor cannabinoid that is actually a byproduct of an aging in aging cannabinoid, and that's beneficial for sleep. There's hundreds of them, so I don't know if I can go into major ones, but there's subtle differences that we note with other phytocannabinoids. So when I say phyto, I mean like naturally occurring within the cannabis plant. There's also endocannabinoids that our body naturally produces that actually work within our body. Mm-hmm. Which is very interesting. But yeah, I mean, there's subtle differences that I feel like I said before, if they could be amplified, could really play a major part in the user's experience or looking at a certain ailment or disease that we're trying to target and help a patient with. Mm-hmm.
So how do you, like, as a pharmacist, like we were saying, you actually sit down with our medical patients and talk with them about what their symptoms are, what their condition is. How do you know, like, what the right ratio or right product is to get them started on?
The biggest thing, and probably the first thing that I ask a patient before we make any recommendations, is what is your familiarity or history with cannabis use? A lot of individuals, like medical patients that are newer to cannabis have never tried weed before. We see a lot of older individuals with like chronic pain, stuff like that are at their wit's end with trying to alleviate pain, and their doctor suggests, why don't you try cannabis? So a lot of them are fresh and as I would say, cannabis naive. So in the pharmacy world, anyone that hasn't tried a particular medication, or in this sense cannabis, before, I would say they're cannabis naive. So I first start with, okay, what do you know about what you're about to put in your body? Because I always like to try and educate them and let them know exactly what it is, and oftentimes it's nothing. So I'll go over, THC is going to have a psychoactive effect that's going to make you high, but it does have, other properties that could be beneficial to you. Generally, a lot of the newer customers will say, oh, well, I don't want to get like really high. I'm okay, like a little bit. So I gauge that and I'm like, okay, then we can start there with a very low dose. And then I discuss other cannabinoids like CBD and how that could be beneficial, and when taken together, they could pose a greater benefit for said patient given their ailment. So I like to focus on their history with cannabis and the actual ailment itself and what we're trying to, I guess, treat in that sense. So I'll go from there and just make the recommendation based on their comfortability level with THC in general. All the dosing that I do will be based on THC.
That's awesome. I think that's incredible that, in the cannabis industry in general, like patients have the opportunity to sit down with pharmacists and actually talk to them and like be able to tailor, we say this in every episode, tailor like what they're looking to alleviate and have someone like educated and so knowledgeable.
I think that's one of the benefits. I mean, the medical marijuana program in Connecticut compared to other states is still in its infancy. And I think one of the things that the state of Connecticut did do right is to have medical professionals on staff to be able to, like you just said, just sit down with a patient, someone that is new to cannabis, is excited to try something that could help them, but doesn't know where to start. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong, our bud tenders, so the individuals when you go into Fine Fettle that are at the register and help you pick out products, those people are not medical professionals, but they're a wealth of information. I mean, they could tell you what's worked for them, what other patients have used in the past that could help, but to have that baseline and advanced understanding of anatomy, physiology, how this substance, THC and CBD, are going to interact with our endocannabinoid system, to have that knowledge, I think, is very important for, one, educating our patients, but making the proper recommendations to start. Cannabis use, it's a journey. It's not a fix-all the first time. It could certainly help, and patients could certainly get benefit, trying a product for the first time. But in terms of tailoring the products that we have on the menu for a specific ailment, I feel like it's very important for those medical professionals like pharmacists to be involved and on staff. That being said, everyone within the dispensary is great. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with a recommendation from anyone.
And I will say, from my time working in Newington, I learned so much from this guy, JP, right here. Like, he's the one who really, like, anytime I had a question, I would just go straight to JP. And he would always explain things so thoroughly. And I swear, like, I know so much about weed now because of you. I
mean, sometimes I maybe talk a little too much.
No.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Yeah, and we've done talks and presentations, with different family tree partners.
Yep.
So, yeah, JP, you are really great. It's awesome to have someone like you on the staff who, has the knowledge and the passion.
Right, like you really care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, I got into pharmacy in general, is because I wanted to help people. I know that's like a cliche, but the genuine, focus on the patient is the reason why I'm here. So
I think that's true for a lot of pharmacists who work in the cannabis industry, because you are so hands-on with the patients.
100%. I mean, I have some autonomy, like I was saying before, to make those recommendations, which is really a benefit within the cannabis industry in Connecticut that pharmacists have, is that ability to make some call some of the shots. I mean, everything is going to be the patient's decision at the end of the day, but to be able to, make those recommendations and have the time to do it is what I'm doing it for.
That's amazing. I love it. So, yeah, how do you know what to recommend in terms of sativa, indica, hybrid? Like we were saying before, they're all hybrids.
Yeah.
What's the difference between those?
So the age-old adage, and I will emphasize old, is indica, couch, sativa, up in atom. And I mean, I don't normally stick to that style of thinking just because cannabis has evolved so much since there was, if we're looking at a spectrum, indica to sativa, which a lot of people view cannabis as, maybe at one time, when there was an actual just cannabis indica and cannabis sativa plant. But there's so much crossbreeding that I feel like we're more in the middle in terms of distinguishing what's a indica, what's a sativa. That's why I said everything is kind of a hybrid, because there is so much interbreeding within cannabis plants that, we're always trying to make the best product, right? So, yeah, in my eyes, everything is a hybrid. That being said, the effects of the cannabis, I wouldn't say are necessarily determined based on an indica or sativa. I think it's really terpenes that are the main focus when it comes.
Let's talk terps.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
What is your favorite terpene to start?
Okay. I like very calming, so I'm a linalool guy. Yeah.
Yes! Sorry, I just punched him.
Yeah. It didn't hurt. You have a little baby pillow fist.
Yeah, wait, how did you say it, though? Because I'm definitely saying it wrong.
I could be saying it wrong, but I say linalool.
I say linalool.
Linalool, yeah.
I say linalool, too.
Yeah, I guess that makes
How do you
sense.
say limonene or limonene? I go both ways with that one.
That one I say limonene.
Okay.
Because
I say limonene, right? Limonene?
Yeah. Okay, myrcene. Am I saying that one right?
I say myrcene.
Okay.
I don't think there's necessarily a right and wrong way.
Tomato.
Yeah. We could definitely say myrcene or myrcene.
Yeah. Myrcene.
But yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna name my kid that. Myrcene. Okay. So wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little fettled. Isn't it known to make you sleepy?
Linalool?
No. Myrcene.
Oh.
Or am I making that up?
Because
I always thought that it was a terpene that, like, for your hunger, makes you hungry and makes you sleepy. But is that not true? Because I always see tons of myrcene in quote-unquote sativa strains, So I'm always like, oh, but I thought myrcene was, like, a sleepy one. But...
it really... It depends, right? Because myrcene itself has, like, anxiety properties, which could make you calm.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you consume cannabis, you eventually will feel sleepy. It's just how it works.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, eventually, that's just...
Eventually.
Right. Because that THC in your body is being broken down, being degraded, and, it eventually becomes a product in your body as it's being eliminated that can have the effect to make you feel sleepy.
Okay.
That being said, myrcene itself can, have that effect. It has that calming property, which can elicit, a eventually cozy and sleepy effects.
Yeah. So also, have you guys heard that if you eat mango before smoking, you get more high? And isn't that because of the myrcene?
Yeah, so that's the beautiful thing about, like, terpenes. I'm going to do, like, a little sidebar and just, like, get
let's do it, yeah.
Terpenes themselves, they're naturally occurring chemical compounds that are in all plants. They're not exclusive to cannabis. So, lavender has linalool, or linalool, as you guys call it. They are flavonoids, so they provide flavor, which is responsible for aromas,
I
taste.
did not know they were called flavonoids.
Flavonoids, yeah.
Flavonoids. Like flava.
Yeah,
okay.
So maybe flavonoids. Have I just been pronouncing
I don't
everything
know.
wrong my whole life?
Words are hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No. It's perfectly fine. No, so yeah, terpenes, they're naturally occurring in all plants. They provide flavor, they provide aromas, color in some aspects. So if you consume or eat a product that has naturally occurring terpenes in it, and you match that with terpenes that are in the cannabis that you're consuming, yeah, you can have higher effects. In some instances, when we're extracting oil from a product and it's just like the distillate, a lot of times terpenes are added to that product. That's why, like, a lot of people prefer to get like rosins or resins because those natural terpenes aren't necessarily being stripped from the oil that you're getting. So yeah, you can supplement a high or supplement an effect that you're looking for with outside, food, other herbs, things like that.
I've heard some of my patients when I worked at the medical dispensary told me that they would use the correlating like essential oils, like they would use that in a diffuser while they were smoking a strain, like you said, like lavender in a strain that's high in linalool, just to like kind of like boost the effects.
Right. And I mean, we're at that point you're tapping into not only the cannabinoid receptors that are in our body, but you're tapping into like other senses that can heighten your high or just the effect that cannabis has on you, which is really cool. I mean, we're, modulating, that's a science word, and I know I'm pronouncing that one right. We
Modulating. No, I'm just kidding.
we're adjusting what we're intaking to, appease what kind of high we want to have, what kind of effects we want to have through cannabis, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so tell us the difference between like limonene, pinene. What other one? Or what other stimulating ones? Because I like those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see that pinene can be stimulating, and it's named after, it's found in pine. So that piney scent when you open up a jar of weed is typically going to be a product that is high in pinene. So there are these, different terpenes in different products and different cannabis products in varying amounts. So I think having just a basic understanding of some of the terpenes can be beneficial. So I'm going to do like a little rundown. Uplifting. So I don't like to say... I'd like to say stimulating or uplifting. So something that you want to consume to get you up in the morning, maybe. You have a joint with your morning coffee and you're ready to go. It's something that's going to be high in pinene and in limonene. So pinene is going to have that stimulating, that awake effect that for some users can be a little overwhelming.
I don't love pinene.
I love pinene.
Probably my least favorite terp.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
And that's okay. That's the beauty of cannabis is like we can tailor, what we're putting into our bodies to really fit our needs. So Tori, you love pinene. I'm assuming that you like that wake up feeling. You have a coffee next to you. I know that you like
with an extra shot of espresso.
Yeah, so definitely a pinene girly.
Yeah. I like limonene a little bit better though. Don't tell pinene.
So don't worry, my lips are sealed. So limonene is nice because I would describe that as uplifting. So you feel not as much wide awake, rearing and ready to go like you would with pinene, but you feel good. You feel like up, ready to, conquer the day.
Just happy, good mood. Yes.
Yeah. That's why I like to pair the limonene or limonene with linalool.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
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 So one of the reasons being is the linalool, like I said, has those calming anti-anxiety effects. Limonene has been shown to have antidepressive effects. So you're feeling not anxious, you're not feeling down, you're feeling good. You're feeling up, but not overly stimulated.
Yeah.
It's uplifting. It's a really good feeling if you just want to relax. If you're ready to go and conquer the day and you're going to be, out and about, throw some pinene in there and link up with Tori and you're having a good day.
It. But when I'm looking on our menu, if I see a flower or product that has limonene and linalool, I'm getting it instantly. And even a bonus if there's beta-caryophyllene in it too.
Yeah, so...
Am I saying that?
Yeah, I say caryophyllene.
I don't need to say the beta part?
No, well, you can. So I guess I can go into that too.
I know that's so much.
No, it's
go
fine.
into it. I want to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so there is alpha and beta, pinene, and caryophyllene. Mm-hmm. There's...
Caryophyllene. No, I'm just kidding.
I've also heard caryophyllene.
Yeah.
Which I think I've said for a while.
Caryophyllene.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Garofoli.
But I say
Guys, let us know what you think about our pronunciations.
Send us a voice memo of you saying it.
I think we're going to get to a point where we're going to be saying these terpenes so much that they're going to lose their meaning.
Yeah.
No matter how you say it, you get your point across.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can say beta in front of it. Essentially, when you say alpha, when you say beta, you're looking at the molecule of caryophyllene, and it's really where the major part of that molecule is going to be attaching to the receptor that's in your body. For the most part, it is beta caryophyllene, but there is, alpha as well. But we see beta for the most part because that is going to have the higher affinity for, which is one of our growers, but it's
There you go.
yeah, it's going to have a stronger connection to the receptor, so you're going to predominantly see more of that. There's also just more of it present within the cannabis plant. So you can say beta, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of like it.
Yeah, and people will know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
So if you are a patient that has chronic pain, like you were saying, what terpenes, cannabinoids should they be looking for in a product?
So I want to start a patient off, depending on their prior use of cannabis. I want to start them off with definitely THC, definitely CBD. The combination of those two, as I said before, is really what's going to get you there. So they have, in pharmacy, I would call it synergistic activity. In cannabis culture, we call it the entourage effect. So the best way to describe it is the combination of the two is greater than the sum of its individual parts. So normally when you add 1 and 1 together, it makes 2. In this sense, adding 1 and 1 together makes 3 for that, anti-inflammatory effect, anti-anxiety effect, things like that. So I like to incorporate that because that, for someone that has a lot of inflammation or a lot of pain, they're going to need the benefit of whatever cannabinoid or terpene that we can provide to them. And THC and CBD has been found to really be beneficial. Now, if we're talking terpenes, I am looking for beta-caryophyllene and maybe some beta-myrcene. Beta-caryophyllene has been shown to have really good anti-inflammatory effects. So beta-caryophyllene is that peppery flavor that you might smell, or the peppery aroma that you might get when you open like a weed jar. And it is naturally occurring and found in black pepper, which has some anti-inflammatory properties, natural anti-inflammatory properties. So I'm going to look for something like that. But I like, kind of staying around that combination.
That's really cool. It's so cool how, every person, every condition is so different. What if I know a lot of people have trouble sleeping. They don't want to necessarily have that head high feeling. What about those patients? What would you recommend for them?
So I like still incorporating THC. So we can microdose with THC. So microdosing is, as it sounds, you're taking a smaller dose. Generally, an individual that is starting off with THC for the first time that doesn't want to get high, in their head, they're saying, I don't want THC at all. And for me, as someone that is an experienced cannabis user, and you ladies as well, that there's times that you can take, just a tiny bit. You feel better, but you don't feel high.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I love talking about microdosing. So the normal dose that I would start someone that is cannabis naive, someone that hasn't tried cannabis before, is 2.5 to 5 milligrams.
Yep.
2.5 is nothing.
Yeah.
Especially with someone that's experienced with cannabis, experienced with edibles.
Yep. You're
not feeling high. If that's what you're chasing, you're just looking to relax, get a little high, which within our right, we're more than, able to do. 2.5 milligrams is really not going to do a lot, but it can elicit an effect.
Yep.
No matter what you're consuming, that THC is going to interact with the endocannabinoid receptors that are in our body to elicit an effect. So I'll, recommend low dose THC, amplify the CBD for that, anti-inflammatory effect. Generally, if someone is looking for help with sleep, a lot of times, especially with my patients, it's not just insomnia. It is, I can't sleep because I'm in pain. Okay. So let's, address the pain, and let's hope that you get some sleep secondary to addressing that pain. So a lot of it is hand in hand. Now, if we're talking an individual that is, I just have insomnia, I cannot sleep, then we want to, I don't want to say overload those receptors, but we want to, we want something that is going to be beneficial for them immediately. So I'll normally recommend, maybe inhalation of a product, and also take like a low dose edible to have that later on effect. And, I'll tailor that based on like what exactly someone's looking for. If we're, talking terpenes, I'll recommend terpenes that would be beneficial for that as well. Incorporate CBN. I mean, it's really limitless when you get into the products that we have and the ways that you can consume. You could really make a nice regimen for a patient based on, what exactly you're working with. Did I stray away from the question? What exactly?
No, I love this.
Yeah, no, this is good.
No, this is great. I had a follow-up question. You were talking about, inhaling and taking an edible at the same time. Like, what is the difference between the different methods? I know, edibles take a little while to start working. So, talk us through,
Can we also talk about topicals? Because I feel like...
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of different methods of consumption when we're talking about cannabis. I mean, when we're talking about anything, really. The first we'll talk about is inhalation. So you get that with, smoking raw flower, or what I was talking about before, the vape oil. So the typical onset for just inhaling something. So you're inhaling this product. It's going directly into your lungs. It's attaching to receptors that are in your lungs and going into your bloodstream. You know that when you smoke, it's like 1 to 5 minutes. You take a hit, and then maybe you take another hit because you really want to have that effect happen. And then you're like, oh, maybe I took maybe one more than I should have. That's okay. Because it has such a quick onset, it's also eliminated from our body more quickly. So in terms of the duration of action, how long, smoking a product, how long you're going to feel those effects for is 1 to 3 hours compared to our other methods of consumption. So that's one of the advantages of smoking, is it has that quick onset. So if there's someone that is comfortable inhaling a product, I will recommend, if they're, looking for help with sleep, take a couple of hits to have that immediate fast onset. It's convenient, because it's so quick, and take an edible for that, longer effect down the road when you're hopefully already asleep. Now, it's great because it has such a quick on effect, but there are some disadvantages. Like I said, it has that short duration of action. That when you smoke, sometimes, an hour goes by and you're coming down a little bit. You're like, okay, I need to either hit my pen again or smoke another joint. Mm-hmm. Now, it's like I said, it's eliminated from our body way more quickly than consuming an edible or a tablet or, a sublingual product, something like that. Also, one of the disadvantages with smoking is a lot of newer patients, that are coming in for medical marijuana don't smoke any products.
Right.
I have worked with cancer patients that are like, I don't want to inhale anything.
Yep.
So that's one of the disadvantages to, just inhalation. But, to each his own.
Right. But thankfully, they're coming out with a lot more fast-acting edible products, which I think is super helpful.
Definitely, yeah.
Looking for that immediate solution.
Yeah, because with edibles, as you ladies know, when you consume an edible, sometimes it could take an hour and a half.
I find with RSO edibles specifically, takes forever to hit.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Or no? Is that just me?
I don't know 100% if RSO is different from other edibles that you can consume for the onset of action.
Yeah.
I consider RSO to just be something like another edible.
Okay.
What I would say is what you consume with it. So do you have an empty stomach? Do you have a full stomach when you're consuming?
I try to have a full stomach.
Okay. And it's also the content of what you have in your stomach. So a little hack for someone that maybe doesn't have a lot of edibles, or they don't have a lot of milligrams in their edibles, but they really want to feel those effects, is knowing that THC itself, the component, the cannabinoid that makes us high, it's a fat-soluble molecule. So in pharmacy, you learn that like dissolves like. So fats will break down other fats. And given that THC is it's a fatty molecule, it's going to be dissolved by fatty products. So if you have a really greasy meal and then you have an edible, you could amplify those effects and kind of tailor when you want your edible to kick in, because it'll work more quickly because it will be broken down.
Wow.
More quickly.
That makes so much sense. But yes, can we get into the topicals? Because I love topicals. And back in the day, AGL used to make bath bombs, which were the best things ever, and they stopped making them. I have one hoarded.
I love the Mend from CT Pharma.
Mend is great.
Everybody should know about Mend.
The Mend is phenomenal.
Yeah, with topicals, typical onset for that is like 15 minutes. But you're applying it sometimes it's immediate, right?
When I use it, it works immediately.
Yeah, and it lasts a long time. The nice thing about topicals is you can use it. So I'm getting into pharmacy again, just pharmacy talk. When we take a edible or, a tablet, that is going to act systemically, meaning it's going to work throughout our whole body. The nice thing about topical is you're just applying it to one area. It's going to work locally. And it's lovely that we have cannabinoid receptors like within the first few layers of our skin that we can apply topical products for, an effective pain relief, anti-inflammatory effects, things like that. So the nice thing about that is you don't need to worry about getting high from using a topical product if you're just looking for pain relief. You want to use it during the day to get through work, but you don't want those psychoactive effects. Topical product is perfect. Literally just apply it to whatever location is ailing you, and you get that benefit, like you're saying, Tori, immediately.
Yeah, my wrist, I think I'm going to have carpal tunnel soon. So whenever I have the AGL one, and I love it, it works immediately. The Mend is great too. It's like icy hot kind of.
Yeah. So the Mend product, it has menthol in it, which has some of its own natural pain relieving properties. It makes you, that icy hot feeling like you were talking about. So that's another example of kind of tailoring a product to hit all of our senses to try and have a therapeutic effect. But, one of the disadvantages that I let patients know, especially if you're applying it to your hands, we wash our hands all the time. So you might need to reapply it. Yeah. But, if you're using it on your back, 2 to 6 hours, you could have that effect for it, which is great. If you're just trying to get through your workday, you only have to apply it once or twice.
Yeah. I hike a lot, and my knee is it's all messed up. So I literally take the lotion with me when I'm hiking and apply it as I go, and it's amazing.
Luckily, little hike with a joint and your transdermal cream, you are in for a great time. Well, the lovely thing is we have endocannabinoids everywhere in our body. So, you can use different products for different things. Like a sublingual product, really quick onset, but it's something that I would say that you consume. You're putting it into your body, but who's familiar with? Are you guys familiar with sublinguals?
A little bit.
When I'm saying that, you know what that means?
We were talking about this on another episode, the Pagodi tincture. That is my favorite thing.
Yeah. What about this? Have you guys tried the sprays?
Oh,
AGL has the spray.
I don't think I've tried
I've wondered about them, but I have not tried.
So when I'm saying sublingual, I mean it is going to be sprayed or applied in a drop form under your tongue, and it's going to be absorbed in your mouth. We have a lot of blood vessels that are just in our mouth, and that will absorb the product and go into your bloodstream. So that's why
I always wondered why.
And
cool.
that's why, if you've ever talked to someone how do I use this sublingual drop or this spray? Put it under your tongue, leave it there for a minute to let it be fully absorbed. And that's one of the benefits for, we have some patients that have difficulty swallowing. We don't want them to aspirate or, get a product to go into their lungs. You could use this and they can, rinse their mouth out, and it has a nice quick onset, as opposed to an edible that, when you eat an edible, it's not in its active form. It needs to be broken down by your liver. It has to go through what's called first pass metabolism to be broken down into an active product. That's why edibles take longer to have an effect. But that product that is getting broken down in your stomach and by your liver has a much longer effect than just regular inhalable THC or something that's going to go directly into your bloodstream. So that's why with edibles you feel higher for longer, because you're still working with THC. It's just a broken down metabolite of THC that just has a longer effect. Now, when you are using a sublingual product, it's, quicker onset, a lesser duration of action, etc. But, it's just another way to take something orally that is not just like taking an edible where you have to wait. Once again, I went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. That is so interesting. That is crazy. And isn't it true, like, if you hold it, like, a sublingual under your tongue and then you end up swallowing it, like, the rest of it will break down, like you were saying, like, through the liver. So then you get, like, the longer duration effects as well as, like, the quicker onset? Yeah.
So whatever products that are not absorbed just directly into your bloodstream via, your mouth are going to eventually get broken down by your liver. So
you kind of get a 2-for-1.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, depending on how you're using the product, yeah.
Cool. Interesting. I have a question about tolerance, because my tolerance definitely goes up with certain types of products that I use. Like when I vape, it definitely goes up. And obviously, like, the more I smoke, the more it goes up. So talk to us about, like, tolerance and the need for taking breaks and things like that.
Yeah, so tolerance or tea breaks, tolerance breaks, tea breaks are something that an individual will do to try and get those effects that they were used to before they were heavily consuming cannabis. So a tolerance will develop because we have these receptors that are in our body, but if you're constantly tapping them, you're constantly having a product that is attached to those receptors. It's not that they wear out, but they get used to, being... It becomes almost normal for those receptors to have a product like THC or CBD constantly attached to them. So you said when you use a vape compared to just smoking, regular flower, that you feel like your tolerance is higher. Yeah. We're stripping a concentrate of an oil from the cannabis plant. Like when we're making a vaporized product, we're taking the naturally occurring oil from cannabis, and it's a concentrated form now. So the flower that you're normally used to is now tenfold, depending on what product you are inhaling. So if you consume that like you're consuming a joint, take hits like you via a vape pen or a disposable or something like that, as you would a joint, you're getting that higher concentration of THC, which is going to be more impactful on those receptors that are in your body. It's going to be a different effect than just smoking a joint, right? That's why a lot of people, when I recommend starting off with a vape, is take one or two and see how that affects you, right? Because it has that quick onset that you're able to judge, okay, I need more, I need less. But I mean, if you are used to consuming cannabis daily, it's not going to be a major difference that you note if you're taking, a couple more hits off of the vape pen or you're using it like you would a joint. It's going to be similar, but you're not realizing, the amount of how tolerant you're becoming to the high concentration of THC. So in terms of like a tolerance break, I'll recommend, take even a couple of days. Mm-hmm. If you are a daily cannabis user and you notice that the doses that you normally take to elicit the effect that you want are not having they're not working as well as they used to. You notice that taking a couple of days off,
I do that every now and then. It's nice. Just a little reset.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't do it often, but yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, that's why we have all these different formulations out there. So I that's why I recommend starting low and going slow. Right?
Low and slow.
Start with a low dose and do it when you need it. If you're using it for the sake of like medicinal reasons, you're looking for pain relief. A lot of patients, what I like to say is we want the lowest effective dose. What dose? That's why I recommend microdosing, because if you can get an effect from a very low dose, you're saving money because you're not frequently buying or you're not frequently buying heavily concentrated products, which could be a little bit more expensive, which some individuals need that. Some individuals need a lot of THC to help alleviate pain. But if we're, talking to someone that's cannabis naive, start with that low dose, save some money, and also tolerance too.
Yep.
You could always increase. You can't. I mean, you can.
After one bad experience.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's what I'll normally recommend for someone that's trying cannabis for the first time. If you notice, though, you're a daily cannabis user, taper it down. Taper down the amount that you're, using, or, which is hard, try going a couple of days without, and then you'll notice, as Jackie has stated, you have those effects that feel greater.
Yeah. Right. Even, honestly, if there's a day where I just, don't smoke in the morning, if my first smoke of the day is, 9 p.m., I'm like, whew, I should do this more often,
Right. Well, I have a million more questions, so we can go on forever, but I think for this episode, we're going to have to wrap it up. But JP, it's been so nice to have you here. We're going to have you back.
Yeah.
I have so much more, as you ladies know, I have so much more to talk about.
I would love to get you and Eric on here at the same time.
Oh yeah.
That would be so fun.
Then it would get really nerdy. We would nerd out, talk
Honestly,
about...
Tori and I probably just shouldn't even show up that day. It can just be you two.
I mean, you have to be here.
Let's do it. But everyone, guys, thank you for listening to another episode. We appreciate you.
You can write into us with any questions, comments, or your funny cannabis stories at podcast@finefettle.com.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, finelyfettled.pod, X finefettle420.
And guys, please remember to consume responsibly.
Yeah. Make sure that you're doing it responsibly on your own terms, but just make sure that you're being safe.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd love to come back on, though. I'm looking forward to being back.
We're going to do it.
It's going to happen.
Thank you so much, ladies.
All right. Thank you.
Do not use cannabis if you are under the age of 21. Keep cannabis out of the reach of children. Please consume responsibly.